Who's your commander?
Good luck.
Equip.
Move to combat.
Resolves.
Now, before you attack
Does
me-
anyone have an answer?
Well played.
Good game.
I'm Jumbo Commander, and this is Upgrading Draconic Domination. Is this the commander deck you want to buy? So let's take a look at all of the commanders in here and what kind of strategies are found in this pre-constructed deck. So the first thing I want to focus on is the Dragon. This guy is huge. 4 white, blue, black, red, green. It has eminence that makes your dragons cheaper. It's got flying, of course, and it's a 10/10. Whenever one or more dragons you control attacks, draw that many cards, then you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. This guy is so over the top. It's a really fun, splashy dragon commander. And so if you're interested in the Dragon, I think you're just playing dragons. And straight out of the box, this deck is filled with dragons, so I think you're going to have a really fun time. If you're looking to upgrade the Dragon, I think that you should obviously put in the best dragon that was not included in the pre-constructed deck is Torian Mauler. I know he looks like a big blue ox, but he's a dragon, trust me, and he's one of your best. This is a 2-drop, 2/2 dragon that uses all the other dragon synergies. So he works with eminence. I mean, it's just crazy. And he grows bigger and bigger and bigger, making a really threatening board. Okay, I honestly do think Torian Mauler is one of the best, but let me talk about 2 real dragons that aren't in the pre-con that could make your deck really powerful. Stormbreath Dragon is one of my favorites, specifically because it punishes your opponents who love drawing cards. I play against people that draw their whole decks all the time, and when you can monstrosity this and deal damage to all of your opponents, so much damage, and Dragon Broodmother is amazing. You get a 1/1 green and red dragon creature token with flying and Devour 2 each upkeep. Okay, Devour 2 is a little bit weird, but you can flood the board with little dragons, and then later on you can make them big. The one thing about Dragon Broodmother is your mana has to be excellent in order to play her. You can't just throw this in the pre-con. The pre-con's a little bit iffy on the mana base, so make sure that you upgrade your mana base if you're throwing in cards like Dragon Broodmother. Let's move on to some more dragons, especially some artifact-based dragons. Hoarding Dragon is your card draw. They included Steel Hellkite in the pre-constructed deck, which is great removal on a dragon. Go get it with Hoarding Dragon. Go get your Urza's Incubator if you want all your dragons to cost 3 less. Or get a Soul Ring. That's honestly better than an Urza's Incubator. But hey, if we want to make our dragons super cheap. Hellkite Tyrant is also great because we don't have to get our own Soul Ring when we could just take all of our opponent's Soul Rings. Karthus Tyrant of Jund is kind of awesome. When it comes to play, gain control of all dragons, then untap all dragons, and all dragons get haste. So just imagine, you're playing your dragon deck, and someone plays a Karthus against you, and just takes all of your dragons and attacks you back with them. I'm just gonna run this in my Jund deck to try and get all you dragon players. Okay, let's leave the Dragon behind. It's just all dragons, so go do a search for dragons, find your favorite, throw them in there, fix up the mana base, don't forget about card draw, all that good stuff. Let's go on to the Kitty Cat Dragon. It's amazing! Wasitora Nekoru Queen is a Jund dragon, and this cat dragon has flying trample 5/4. When you attack someone, they have to sacrifice a creature, and if they don't, you get the cutest little kitty cat flying red, green, and black dragon token. So cute. Now, I was looking at Wasitora, and I was thinking about it. Is this really a dragon synergy? No, it's more like an attacking synergy. Is it really a token commander? No, not really. Is it a sacrifice commander, like an edict effect for your opponents? Not really that either. So it really didn't fit into a lot of the strategies I was thinking about. And then I remembered, you just got to Jund. That's it, just Jund them out. And so if you're just Junding, then you can just play your best Jund cards, all the most fun ones. Because think about all the Jund commanders. Prosh, Kresh, Shattergang Bros. All of these have very specific strategies. Prosh is scary and goes wide and has combos. Kresh is pretty similar, but it's all about sacrificing stuff and making Kresh huge. Shatter Yang has all this sort of nickel and diming your opponents. All of these are really fun for Jund. But this is a cat dragon that just goes sideways and punches your opponents in the face and plays the value creatures. So that's why I think that this cat dragon is just a solid Jund commander that you can put anything you want in. And I think we need that in a sort of commander precon. So I think it's a solid choice. Moving on, O-Kagachi Vengeful Kami is 1 white, blue, black, red, green, and this is a legendary dragon spirit 6/6 flying trample. And whenever O-Kagachi Vengeful Kami deals combat damage to a player, if that player attacked you during his or her last turn, exile target non-land permanent that player controls. This is instant punishment for attacking you. I love it. I really wish this had haste so I could play it and immediately punish my opponents, but that's okay. That's okay. I think the one thing that people focused on in this is the fact that it's a spirit. And so we can thematically go spirit tribal in order to fulfill the need of a spirit general that we really don't have. So if we're going spirits, oh, there are a ton of spirits available. This is just a list of the spirits in my binder as I'm waiting to make the spirits deck. Celestial Kirin, Uyubi who split the heavens, Horoki Dust Drinker, Bounteous Kirin, Inama's 1, Name Death Aspect, Kyuki Sanity's Eclipse, Kakusho the Evening Star, Iname Life Aspect, and Infernal Kirin. All of these are legendary, awesome spirits that synergize with each other. This spirits deck is going to be amazing. And that's not to include the other spirit enablers. Those ones are all from the Kamigawa block, but there's other blocks that play a lot of great spirits. This is Drogskull Captain, Rattlechains, Karmic Guide, Spectral Shepherd, Seedborn Muse. The spirits are deep. And so with this new commander, we can play as many as we want. Notice though that there are not a lot of red spirits in there. There are some, but you just gotta look for them a little bit. So this might be a little bit light on the red. There's another cool card that synergizes really well with spirits, and that's Kindred Boon. Kindred Boon lets you put divinity counters on things. And divinity counters were popular in Kamigawa block. The Myojin came into play with divinity counters on them if you played them from your hand. That meant that they weren't very strong as commanders, but now that we can recharge their divinity counter, it's insane because their divinity counters had crazy effects. Myojin of Night's Reach had each of your opponents discard their hand. Myojin of Cleansing Fire killed everything else. This is a really fun synergy, but I want to go to a different strategy that you could use for O-Kagachi Vengeful Kami. And that's kind of an attacking sort of political commander. A rattlesnake effect in Magic is something that dissuades your opponent from attacking you. And O-Kagachi is definitely an awesome rattlesnake, because if they do attack you, you just boom, exile something that they have. So we can sort of play up this rattlesnake mechanic and make it so that your opponents don't want to attack you. They want to attack your opponents. Gahiji can be used in this strategy, giving your opponents buffs if they attack your opponents and preventing them from really attacking you. Edric, Spymaster of Trust, makes it really desirable to attack your opponents and not so much to attack yourself. But my favorite synergy with O-Kagachi is Assault Suit. You all are like, Assault Suit? ? And I'm like, yes, Assault Suit. Okay, let me read it. It's an equipment that says equipped creature gets +2/+2, has haste, and can't attack you or a planeswalker you control and can't be sacrificed. And then at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you can give the equipped creature to that opponent, and then you get it back at the end step. Okay, so every single turn, it's my opponent's turn, I can choose to give them O-Kagachi with Assault Suit on it. So it is an 8/8, untapped, hasty, trampling, flying, exiling monster that can't come at me. So they're like, okay, I'm gonna attack an opponent, or I'm gonna attack an opponent that attacked me last turn, so I'm gonna use this effect on O-Kagachi and exile something of theirs to get back at them. And then I can Assault Suit donate O-Kagachi to that opponent for them to attack the original opponent back again. So opponents are attacking each other back and forth with Assault Suited O-Kagachi and exiling each other and dealing 8 damage and just destroying each other. And if they need a little bit of motivation, maybe I can throw in a Goblin Diplomat or a Bident of Thassa or something like that. But I just love the idea of having your opponents squabble amongst each other, and especially like the idea of letting them exile each other's stuff with a rampant Assault Suited O-Kagachi attacking everywhere. All right, I'm super excited for the next dragon out of this commander set because the power is real. Ramos Dragon Engine is 6 for a 4/4 flying legendary artifact creature dragon, and whenever you cast a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Ramos Dragon Engine for each of that spell's colors. Then you can remove 5 counters from Ramos and add white, white, blue, blue, black, black, red, red, green, green to your mana pool. You can only do this once each turn. Ramos, not only does he get huge, he gives you huge mana. This is a very cool strategy. So what can we do with Progenitus mana? Well, we can start legacy weaponing things. We can door to nothingness an opponent that we just don't want to win. That's pretty cool. We can Fist of Suns, casting 2 other spells for a discounted rate, hopefully discounted. By the way, Fist of Suns is in the precon, so that's a cool thing that just comes along with it. Or we can just cast Progenitus, that's pretty cool. And when we do cast Progenitus, we're gonna add 5 more counters to Ramos Dragon Engine so we can do something like this again next turn. So you can see how this effect builds. What else can we do? Well, this multicolored commander can just cast a lot of stuff that is multicolored. So Bringer of the Blue Dawn, Bringer of the Black Dawn, any of these cards will let you play Wooburg, that's white, blue, black, red, green, and put them into play. Now, yeah, that's pretty cool, but they would only add 1 +1/+1 counter to Ramos, but very rarely do I get to see the Bringers in EDH because their color identity is all 5 colors. So I think that they're really fun creatures that I would like to see more of, and maybe this gives them a home, but I don't think the power level's there. But honestly, if we're going to be casting crazy spells and we want to take advantage of spells that have lots and lots of colors and use Ramos's mana really effectively, we're going to need some crazy mana fixing and mana ramp. So I would really, really like it if the Ramos series was any good. Eye of Ramos basically is a 3 mana rock. And this one adds blue mana, and there's different parts of Ramos that add different color mana. It's not good enough. 3 mana for just 1 color, it doesn't really fix. Also, Henge of Ramos, you're like, oh sweet, it's like the home of Ramos, this should do great stuff, and it doesn't. It's a filter land that's super duper inefficient. So although on flavor, not very good. The good stuff is like Chromatic Lantern, Coalition Relic, lets you cast all these crazily colored spells so that Ramos gets huge. I love Trace of Abundance. Not only does it give you the mana fixing that you need, but also the spell is 3 different colors, adding 3 +1/+1 counters to Ramos. Bloom Tender as well can take advantage of all these permanents that have these different colors in it. So now I'm thinking we want to cast a lot of spells that have a bunch of different colors to put +1/+1 counters on Ramos so we can take counters off so we can cast more things. So I'm thinking of all the multicolored stuff that we can. How about Conflux, letting you fetch up so many different colored cards? Or Transguild Courier, 4 mana of any color that will add 5 counters to Ramos. So Transguild Courier, although an underwhelming creature in its own right, could just be like a crazy creature Dark Ritual for Ramos. Very fun. Or consider Cloven Casting if you want to go heavy instants or sorceries. But you know what? These all will put tons of counters on Ramos Dragon Engine, But what also will put a bunch of counters on Ramos Dragon Engine are these counter synergies that we've seen so much. Rayhan, Last of the Abzan, is also a great counter commander, letting you keep the counters on Ramos if he goes away, or redistributing counters that you have on other creatures. Atraxa Praetor's Voice is 4 different colors, adding 4 counters to Ramos. She's a crazy beater in her own right, and she can proliferate all of your counter synergies. Widening Constrictor, and then Verdurous Gearhulk only adds 1 counter because it's only 1 color, but then adds 4 more to Ramos because of that awesome ability that he has. You know, with all these counters and getting Ramos huge, I just gotta think of Mael's Aria. You're like, what is this card? So not only will this card add 3 counters to Ramos, it reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control if you control a creature with power 5 or greater. If you have Ramos, yeah, that's basically going to happen, okay? Then you gain 10 life if you control a creature with power 10 or greater. Ramos is often 10 or greater. You want to get him up to 9 so you can take the counters off of him and then get all of his mana, so 10 is not that bad. And actually, Mael's Aria goes in order of progression. So if we start off the turn with Ramos at 9, the Aria will add the 10th counter, and then we'll check for 10 power to gain 10 life. Then you win the game if you control a creature with power 20 or greater. But what? I win the game? So if I chain together enough spells of enough different colors, Mael's Aria will just win me the game with a gigantic Ramos. Which is hilarious too, because if I have like a 21 power commander, I should just be able to attack someone with flying in order to win the game too. But I like winning the game with Mael's Aria, or gaining a bunch of life, or adding counters too. This is all really sweet. But I mean, if I'm considering just attacking with a gigantic Ramos, why don't I make his attacks better? Rafik of the Many will add 4 counters to him, give him an Exalted, and Double Strike. Whoa, that's gross. And then also consider Finest Hour, which does a kind of imitation of Rafik of the Many. So these are just impactful spells when you have a Voltron type commander. But wait, is Ramos really Voltron? Are we going spells? Are we going +1/+1 counters? Are we going Voltron? What I'm saying is that Ramos can do it all. You can take whatever angle you want. Now, one thing that will build up the counters really quickly is casting things. And so I like to think of things that you can cast for cheap or free. Rashmi, Eternity's Crafter, will give you triggers that'll let you cast things for free. Same thing with Bring to Light. It's a spell that will add 2 counters to Ramos, but then you can cast another spell on top of it. So you kind of get the double casts there. And now that I'm thinking of double casts, I'm thinking of some Cascade. And so a card like Maelstrom Archangel. Ooh, Maelstrom Archangel, Maelstrom Nexus, Yidris Maelstrom Wielder, and Maelstrom Wanderer. We just want every card with Maelstrom on it in this deck, because not only will these cards add 3, 4, 5 counters to Ramos, they will also cascade into other things and then cast those spells, and those will add even more counters. So it kind of builds upon itself. And also, cascading is really fun. I actually, when I was predicting the tribes very poorly for this set, I said I really wanted a 5-color Angel Commander because I feel like Maelstrom Archangel should be a commander card. And Ramos does let me play her, so I'm feeling pretty okay here. There's a bunch of other cards that cascade for value, and they're usually multicolored, so Shardless Agent, Bloodbraid Elf, Ethereum Horn, Sorcerer. You can play these early for value or play them late for multiple triggers off your Ramos. Now I have one last Ramos strategy, and it's a weird mix. It's a mix between competitive and awesome. So the first thing I'd like to point out is Ramos can cast a bunch of spells, and then you can add 10 mana to your mana pool, and then you can Dragon Storm. So imagine this. Okay, you are at 7 mana because you played Ramos, you have 7 mana, okay? You play a couple different spells, you know, this spell, that spell, this spell, and you finally work Ramos up to 5 counters. You minus Ramos, and then you just cast Dragon Storm, and suddenly you're searching out 3 or 4 of your best and most awesome dragons. This is a card that could facilitate a Storm build. Now it is a downside that you can only use Ramos's ability once, but this ability to generate mana out of nowhere is something that combo decks really gravitate towards. Now, combo decks really gravitate towards more powerful strategies. Ramos has you jump through a little bit too many hoops to be awesome. People are talking about pairing him with Deadeye Navigator so you can use the sort of mana generating effect more than once a turn, but if you're going to pair something with Deadeye, why not like Palancron, Great Whale, Peregrine Drake to really go infinite, rather than this janky backward strategy to go infinite only then if you have a Deadeye and have the spells to keep Ramos going? I don't know. It's a little bit thin. So I think that Ramos could be a more fun Dragonstorm deck and not so much of a, good competitive Storm deck. If you want to go good competitive Storm deck, I actually think that the Wizards deck has some prime Wizard legendaries to be a really solid Storm deck. But you know what? Ramos has got to be the Dragonstorm commander. But how am I going to build this? There's so many different strategies. I'm going to Cascade +1/+1 counters. I'm going to Dragonstorm. So many options for Ramos. I'm really excited to dive into some more detailed deck building. But let's move on to our very last commander from this pre-con, and that's Taigam Ojutai Master. What is this human monk doing in a dragon deck? Well, Taigam is 2 white-blue for a 3/4 legendary human monk, and he's from Tarkir, so he knows a lot about dragons. And he will let you cast your dragons, because instant, sorcery, and dragon spells you control can't be countered by spells or abilities. Ooh, that's a pretty cool strategy. I hate being countered, so this sounds like already a really good commander card. Maybe not for dragons so much, but instants and sorceries, those are good cards to cast. Okay, whenever you cast an instance or a sorcery spell from your hand, if Taigam Ojutai Master attacked this turn, that spell gains Rebound. Let's remind ourselves what Rebound is. Basically, when we cast a spell, we exile it as it resolves. Okay, so when the spell goes off, instead of going to your graveyard, it goes into exile. Most people stick it on top of their library because at the beginning of your next upkeep, you get to cast it for free. Ooh, that's powerful. Okay, so let's take a look at Taigam. Well, and I think the first thing is this rebound effect is very powerful. If we look at it, we can look at it in terms of Narset Transcendent, a planeswalker that has a minus ability that lets you do it for 1 spell. That's how powerful this is. Same mana cost, planeswalker, and their minus ability, and then Narset is really vulnerable. This is really powerful. And if we look at the enchantment Cast Through Time, this is a 7 mana ability. And by the way, but before we get into this rebound, let's talk about the first ability, not getting countered. There are a lot of spells that sort of overall counter everything that gets played. So for example, in the Eye of Chaos, all instants and interrupts. Oh no, it doesn't count sorceries. I should have looked at this. Anyways, this starts countering instants. Maybe it's not that good. Unless their caster pays an additional X, where X is that spell's casting cost. This is an awful text also, but look at the Viking. The art is so amazing. Okay, basically it doubles the casting cost of instants. And then Taigam actually says, nope, I don't need to do that because this ability can't counter me. It's maybe not even that good. But what is very, very good is Dovescape. Whenever a player plays a non-creature spell, counter that spell. That player puts X 1/1 white and blue bird creature tokens with flying into play, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. So all of your opponents, when they try to wipe the board or take out your Taigam, they just make doves. But you get to cast your instants and sorceries, and you get the birds too. You're like, what? I thought it does. Yes, trust me, it works. Okay. It tries to counter the spell and it doesn't, and then it keeps going and you still get to put the birds into play. Now, this is kind of a similar effect to Chalice the Void. A lot of people throw their spells into Chalice the Void and they get countered. But Chalice the Void is like $1 bajillion, traded away some Modern or Legacy players so that you can buy more commander cards. Okay, the countering thing is cool, but it's kind of a minor ability. We got to talk about Rebound. But we can't just start immediately rebounding spells. We got to get Taigam in for damage. So to deal some combat damage, let's try equipping him up with Whisper Silk Cloak or many other pieces of equipment. Or have activated abilities that can get commander through, like Thassa or a Whirler Rogue or a Venser or something like that. Or we could even have spells like Artful Dodge, and we could even maybe rebound that spell. Now, one thing that's interesting is that you can rebound Artful Dodge, and then it ends up in your graveyard, and then you can flash it back. But then the flashback does not get rebound. Remember, rebound only happens from your hand, okay? And so you might put a bunch of cool cards in here with a lot of synergies to it. Just remember what rebounds and what doesn't, because if you're expecting an Artful Dodge and you don't have it, that can be the difference between winning and losing a game. So one thing that works really well with rebound is board wipes. Board wipes, you ask? Yes, let me explain. So when you wipe the board, what you're kind of doing is letting your opponents have the first crack at reloading the board state. And that's not that good. I mean, late game in Commander, you can spend part of your turn wiping the board and then rebuild a little bit yourself. But your opponents have all of their mana to redeploy threats. But if you have a board wipe on rebound, then they can't do anything. You're basically time walking them. Let's take a card like Austere Command. You cast it and you wipe the board, and it goes into rebound, like it's getting ready to rebound. You're like, oh, it's getting cast again. What are your opponents gonna play? Are they gonna play an artifact? Are they gonna play an enchant? Are they gonna play a creature? Also, Austere Command can miss your general. That's awesome too. And then the next turn it comes around, you have all your mana to redeploy stuff, to put out more threats. Amazing. Also, Tragic Arrogance. This lets you keep your commander, because you're not going to have a lot of creatures in this deck, because your creatures don't have rebound. Instants and sorceries do. So you can choose to keep your commander around and then destroy your opponent's boards. And then what are they going to do? Are they going to redeploy other creatures? Other artifacts? Other enchantments? No, they're just going to sit there taking a whole turn off as you're like, good, and getting ready to attack with Taigam again. Okay, another thing that's really powerful with rebound is extra turns. Now, you might not be excited about taking extra turns, but it's a powerful strategy that needs to be mentioned. A time warp turns into a time stretch. And this is a powerful ability. I mean, what does a time stretch turn into? A time stretch turns into a card that doesn't exist that probably costs 20 mana. I mean, it's amazing. And if you want to really take advantage of this, you can use a spell like Not Forgotten to get the time warp out of your graveyard and put it on top of your library so that you can rebound it again and again and again. This lets you take turn after turn after turn and just keep recycling stuff. It's broken. Taigam is an awesome commander. You do need to make sure that you have enough support to get him in for damage, and then you need to play your favorite instants and sorceries so that you can rebound them. I did a deck a little while ago featuring Noyandar Royal Shaper, and that's a spellcaster, sort of spells matter deck that goes wide with cards like Monastery Mentor and stuff like that. Azorius has a lot of really solid cards in the Spellslinger strategy, and I think Taigam can be easily adapted to fit this cool synergy. One thing that I think makes Taigam a little bit weaker, but a little bit more fun, is the fact that counterspells aren't very good with him. Rebounding counterspells don't do anything, and you want to take advantage of your rebound, and you can't rebound at instant speed. It has to be in your second main phase after you attacked with Taigam. So this is a deck that actually slings spells but plays fewer counterspells. Doesn't really play at instant speed. It's a tap out sort of commander. That's something I can really get behind. I'm kind of excited about that. Now, I know I've spent way too much time on all of these. I've gotten too deep on dragons. I apologize. But what I do want to do is find out what you guys think. What commander are you going to build? What are you excited about? And overall, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys learned something about Commander 2017, and I hope you tune in pretty soon for my other deck reviews. We got vampires coming up, and we got wizards coming up. All right, I'll see you guys real soon. Bye.